In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make country pop music, kind of in the trendy country vibe that you get from Post Malone, Shaboozey, Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Jelly Rolls, something like that. And to do that, I actually remade a song by Post Malone and Morgan Wallen called I Had Some Help, and I'll break down my remake of the song's elements, the sounds of those elements, the mixing, the structure and arrangement, all that jazz. So hopefully by the end of this tutorial, you can make a song in a similar country pop style to this one. Set the tempo around 128 BPM. Start off by getting yourself a guitar. Now you can either play the guitar yourself and make a nice repeatable loop like that, or you can find great quality samples like this anywhere on Splice, which is paid for, or Looperman, which is completely free. But yeah, just a twangy, acoustic-ish rhythm that can be repeated over and over again throughout the entire track. Next, copy the melody from the guitar and put it into a piano. It doesn't have to be a realistic sounding piano. This is just going to be some support for the background of the melody that you played with the guitar. And for this sound, I just used a basic grand piano from Flex. Next, make some chords that fit that guitar sample. If you make or find a good, repeatable, simple guitar loop like that, the chords are going to come out very simple as well. When you hear these chords by themselves, it sounds like standard stuff that you would hear on like no copyright sounds and stuff, because it's that simple of chords when you isolate them out from everything else. It's really the sounds that make them sound more complex in the mix than anything. And for these sounds over here, I use the same piano preset from Flex, this guitar preset from Flex, and this guitar preset from Flex as well. So a simple generic piano coupled with an electric guitar and then coupled with a more twangy acoustic guitar over here. And for the mixing, I just put this standard EQ on here, which takes out a lot of the lows so that when we make a prominent rolling bass line later, these lows that are unneeded don't counteract and clash with those lows that we're going to add ourselves later on. And then this just boosts the higher end frequency so that we hear more of that twang with the guitar and a little more of that piano essence in the mix. Next, chop up those same chords but in a different guitar. This is a very simple muted electric guitar that has this strumming pattern over here. That's just the chopped up version of the chords from earlier. I use this muted Strat 2 preset from Flex to accomplish that guitar sound, and it has the same EQ from earlier for the same exact reasons. Next, take the bass notes from those chords and put it into a bass preset. It's easier to get the rhythm of the bass by using the bass notes from the chopped guitar over here. And by bass notes, I just mean like the root notes of the chords. So like, for example, if this is an F sharp chord, you're going to get an F sharp for the note, and then if this is a C sharp chord, you're going to get a C sharp for the note, and so on. Put it into some bass sounding presets that sound like this. Same rhythm from earlier, just bass sound, of course. And to accomplish the sound, I use this bass guitar preset from Flex and this bass guitar preset from Flex as well. So this right here is more like an acoustic-ish bass that's really rolling with the rhythm. And then this one is just a lower fingered bass just for some extra support for the bass sound. And the only mixing that I put on here is a Fruity Blood overdrive, nothing done to it, just the preset thrown in here for some extra amplification and to really give that bass a rolling punch to it in the mix. Next, make a simple guitar melody. Once the vocals end of the song, this melody is going to play to kind of fill that missing space up. And it also copies the vocal melody that plays as well for the verses. So if you ever get stuck making melodies like this, you could always just do that. Just find the vocal and replicate the melody and see if that works. I use this guitar preset from Flex, this guitar preset from Flex, another final guitar preset from Flex, and then this banjo sample from Somatics. So this is just to give it some extra texture when the notes first hit, but these are all just very acoustic and electric sounding guitars, so nothing too crazy on that end. For the mixing, I have the same EQ from earlier for the same exact reasons, but I also have a reverb in here with these settings just to kind of give it a fuller background sound as well. Now for the drums, I have this kick right here, very acoustic and hard hitting. I have this snare right here. I feel like the name describes it well. It's like a brushy, like acoustic snare, but not really like, it doesn't have that much body. It's more of like a textured higher end snare. And then I have this snare down here, just like a standard electronic snare almost, but it gives it that body that's missing in this acoustic one over here. Put those samples in a rhythm that sounds like this. So very standard rhythm, I would think. Get a drum loop in the background to complement those samples to give it more fullness in the mix and give it more texture. And add a crash in the beginning as well. all together, the drum loop sounds like this. So a very standard rhythm, but make sure the sounds are all very acoustic sounding and have that natural feel to them, if you get what that means by that. And similar to the bass, I put a Fruity Blood overdrive on here just so that the drums hit harder and attack more, and the overall sound and essence of them are amplified more. Now for some extra background effects, I have this banjo loop playing in the background. This gives it that extra country twang that would be missing otherwise. And then I also have this dobro pedal guitar as well for some extra texture and background filler to give it that country vibe. Now for the structure and arrangement of this track. So for this tutorial, I'm only focusing on the chorus itself. There are two parts of this chorus. The first part is a more simplified version where the vocals are playing. The second part of the chorus is where like the instruments take over and the vocals are less prominent. So for the first part of the chorus, all you have is the guitar, the piano support melody, the chords, the chopped chords, the bass, the banjo, and then the full drum loop over here. And then for the second part of the chorus, this is where the instruments really take over. You have everything the same from earlier, but you're adding on to it with the main melody and then the dobro pedal guitar loop over here. And I also just added a ride loop as well to kind of give the drums a greater presence as well. Kind of gives it that rock edge to the country vibe as well. So yeah, this is what the full structure of the track looks like over here. Here's the final result. I had some doubt. It ain't like I can make this kind of mess all by myself. Don't act